walk into this room at your own risk, because it leads to the future. Not a future that will be, but one that might be. This is not a new world. It is simply an extension. You walk into this room at your own risk, because it leads to itself after every dictator who has ever planted the ripping imprint of a boot on the pages of history since the beginning of time. It has refinements, technological advances, and a more sophisticated approach to the destruction of human freedom. But like every one of the superstates that preceded it, it has one iron rule. Logic is an enemy and truth is a menace.
Hello to you all. You're watching RHTVLive.
This is Mr. Romney Wordsworth. In his last 48 hours on Earth, he's a citizen of the state, but will soon have to be eliminated. Because he's built out of flesh, and because he has a mind.
You've been under investigation, Mr. Wordsworth, for the mandatory period of 1 year and 11 months. You're found to be obsolete. The purpose of this hearing is to make a finding in the matter and make a sentence accordingly. Do you understand that, Mr. Wordsworth? Your occupation, Mr. Wordsworth?
A librarian, sir.
A librarian. Having to do with books.
Yes, sir. Books.
Since there are no more books, Mr. Wordsworth, there are no more libraries. The field investigators in your sector have classified you as obsolete. Your rights are as follows, Mr. Wordsworth. You are to be liquidated within a period of 48 hours. You are obsolete, Mr. Wordsworth.
A lie. No man is obsolete.
You have no function, Mr. Wordsworth. You're an anachronism, like a ghost from another time.
I am nothing more than a reminder to you that you cannot destroy truth by burning pages.
You're a bug, Mr. Wordsworth, a crawling insect, an ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning.
I am a human being.
Delusions, Mr. Wordsworth. Delusions that you inject into your veins with printer's ink. The narcotics that you call literature, poetry, essays of all kind, all of it an opiate. You have nothing but spindly limbs and a dream, and the state has no use for your kind.
I don't care. I tell you, I don't care. I'm a human being. I exist. And if I speak one thought aloud, that thought lives, even after I'm shoveled into my grave.
The Chancellor, the late Chancellor, was only partly correct. He was obsolete. But so is the state, the entity he worshipped. Any state, any entity, any ideology that fails to recognize the worth, the dignity, the rights of man, that state is obsolete.
Yeah, people, that state is obsolete. We are dealing with a power structure that's been around for ages, ages. Now, they say that today is a very important day in the Netherlands. It's Liberation Day. We were liberated from the Nazis today. At this point, like 70 odd years ago, we were liberated from the Nazis. Now, who bankrolled the Nazis? No, wait, I'll show you guys this first. Here you go. Liberation Day. Today is Liberation Day. We are liberated from the Nazis. Yeah, we got our freedom back. And we are broadcasting from Maastricht, which is in the south of our beautiful country, the Netherlands. And it's also a very well-known city, if you follow politics, because over in Maastricht, there was the Maastricht Treaty. There you go. And this was the foundation of the single currency market, This was the foundation of the euro and the European Union that was still forming. So this is what happens. So, and we're liberated, right? Yeah, we're liberated. Yeah. But who bankrolled these Nazis? Here you go. Wall Street and the rise of Hitler. Yep. So it was Wall Street financing the Nazis, before the Great War, the Second World War. And very interesting book to read, So Anthony Sutton, very interesting. It's in the PDF file. It's still online, So read this to grasp what's really going on, And this is not a conspiracy theory. I mean, if you look at Zbigniew Brzezinski, that's well known, right? I mean, Zbigniew Brzezinski went to Pakistan to make an army in Afghanistan, right, to counter the Russians. It's a well-known thing, right? This is no conspiracy theory. It's even on video. Here you go. Here you have Zbigniew Brzezinski, right? That's an agent of the CIA, right? At the border of Afghanistan. Wait, I'll show you guys Afghanistan. So you have knowledge of where Afghanistan is. Here you have Iran. Here you have Afghanistan, right? And Zbigniew Brzezinski was at the Khyber Pass, right, in Pakistan, neighboring Pakistan, rallying people to overthrow the Soviet government in Kabul, right? So you not only funded the Nazis, you also funded the Mujahideen, which later split up in 3 groups. Remember that? The Northern Alliance, the Taliban, and Al-Qaeda. Now, who did 9/11? So we're going to take a look at Zbigniew Brzezinski. Let's see what he has to say here.
U.S. National Security Advisor Brzezinski flew to Pakistan to set about rallying resistance. He wanted to arm the Mujahideen without revealing America's role. On the Afghan border near the Khyber Pass, he urged the soldiers of God to redouble their efforts.
We know of their deep belief in God, and we are confident that their struggle will succeed. That land over there is yours. You'll go back to it one day because your fight will prevail and you'll have your homes and your mosques back again because your cause is right and God is on your side.
There, you see him? That was Zbigniew Brzezinski. He's dead. And, his daughter, Mika Brzezinski, is still on television with the other guy. What's his name? This is what's happening. So you guys were funding the Mujahideen that later split up into the Taliban, Northern Alliance, and Al-Qaeda. And as I've said, who did 9/11? Right? Now, Was that really an inside job? Are you allowed to think that? Because Biden has this Ministry of Truth now, a disinformation governance board. Now let's see how this Democratic politician will respond to what Biden just did. Tulsi Gabbard, remember her? Remember.
You feel, I think how do you feel about the Ministry of Truth?
This is the kind of thing that you see in dictatorships, this Ministry of Truth, this Department of Propaganda that the Biden administration has just stood up. And the reason why you see this in dictatorships is because they're afraid of us. They're afraid of the people. They're afraid that we might actually think for ourselves. And so now they've created this body that will do two things. Number one, it'll use taxpayer dollars to work through the mainstream media and flood the airwaves with whatever their propaganda narrative is that they're pushing at any given time, and try to drown out anyone with alternate views. And number two, they will silence dissenting voices through intimidation. I think the thing to recognize with this, just real quick, is that this isn't something new. This is something that they have already been doing, that's happening right now. The only difference is they're formalizing it, making it official, which, if there's a silver lining in this, it is they're revealing exactly who they are and why they're doing it, what they're trying to accomplish. And it allows us, the American people, to stand up and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to let you get away with this crap. We will take a stand. We will reject it. And we will throw out of office those who are continuing to push and propagate this undemocratic, anti-free speech mission.
I hope you Americans will do that. You got the Second Amendment, not for hunting or whatever. It's for a tyrannical government. Your government has become tyrannical over there, And over here, we also have a tyrannical government. It's a totalitarian government. And we are not armed to do anything about it. You guys are the beacon of hope and whatever. Americans like to stamp their chest and say, wow, we're the best, man. We're the best. Yeah? Really? Are you guys the best? Well, you have a Ministry of Truth now. The government decides for you what is true and what is not true. They are scared. They are very, very scared. You see, they leave evidence behind. If you look at John Kerry, for instance, he had said, right, there are images of Russians placing rocket launchers in Ukraine, and that brought down MH17. I'll show you guys Ukraine in a moment, but we're going to take a look at John Kerry first. So, evidence links Russia to rebels who shot down plane. Now, take a listen to this, right?
It's documented that points to the involvement of Russia in providing these systems, training the people on them. We know that the separatists have shot down 12 aircraft in the last couple of months, among them 2 transport planes. But the evidence is quite enormous. Well, here's what's currently bothering everybody.
It's enormous evidence. We have enormous evidence that Russia is behind this and this and blah, blah, blah. I never saw this evidence. I never saw it. And if they don't want me to question government, they should provide, pictures then. I am willing to to believe my government or another government if they show me the evidence. Then I can ponder on the evidence, and maybe come to a conclusion, right? So now you have John Kerry saying, we got evidence that Russia is placing Buck missiles in Ukraine. Yeah, right. I haven't seen the evidence. Where is the evidence? So it's astonishing, It's like, what the hell? Now there's a disinformation board, right? Isn't that very odd that you have like Twitter, right? Twitter was taken over by Elon Musk, and the people at Twitter were flipping out. They were like, oh my God, Elon Musk, oh my God, oh my God. We showed you guys, right? Project Veritas. We showed you guys Project Veritas. There you go. We showed you guys the board meeting of Twitter, and they were like, whoa, Elon Musk, whoa, and it's amazing. It really is amazing. So these people are flipping out, and they're actually leaving Twitter, right? And now they're probably going to that disinformation board, right? So we're going to take a look at this here.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight we are covering multiple developing stories. In just a moment, we'll check in with LJ Lawrence Jones, who was at the University of Houston, where he asked college students what they thought about Elon Musk and his plan to restore free speech.
These guys are copycats at Fox News, because Mark Dice, he was one of the first that went onto the streets. And he copied it basically from Jay Leno, and Jay Leno did also interviews on the streets and stuff like that. And, Jay Leno wasn't on TV anymore. So I think Mark saw the opportunity to do that. Now, Fox News is doing the same thing, putting a guy on the street and asking questions. So,
Twitter. Also, we have tonight exclusive Project Veritas undercover video of Twitter employees in a complete meltdown mode. And of course, for the past few years, big tech has played a massive role. Twitter has been arbitrarily banning conservatives, throttling accounts. Of course, we have shadow banning, blocking negative stories about Democrats. They've been protecting Democrats for years. But now Elon Musk, he's taken it over, and he's really just promising freedom of speech. And we have Twitter's liberal board. They're in a total freak-out meltdown mode. They're all worried that all their important moderation will soon come to an end, and their platform will be scary and dangerous and a place filled with opinions that they can't take and they disagree with. Now, James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, obtained audio from an internal call among Twitter employees. I got to be honest, this is priceless. As always, you decide.
Elon made it clear in public that a large part of the reason he bought the platform was because of our moderation policies and disagreements in how we deal with health. This puts Twitter service and trust and safety, as well as anybody who cares about health on the platform, in a very difficult position.
Twitter service, the role of our policies, and the capabilities we've built around content moderation are fundamental to keeping Twitter safe and growing. I believe that there is a lot of work we have to do to continue making that better.
Now, we contacted Twitter, but they declined to comment. But
of course they declined to comment. Of course. So they're flipping out at Twitter, and what amazes me is that we still have like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. It's like, oh my God, man. I'd rather watch the Maxine trial, Ghislaine Maxwell trial, than Johnny Depp. Maybe it's important for people who follow stars and stuff like that, but I don't do that. Ghislaine Maxwell is more important to me. So, but you don't see any videos on that. You're not allowed to film. You're not allowed to film. Nope. New disturbing revelations at Ghislaine Maxwell trial. We're supposed to trust CNN to provide us the truth? No. Now, if you want to know who Ghislaine Maxwell was, that was the basically secretary of the other dude, Jeffrey Egg Salad. Are you allowed to say Epstein? Egg Salad, Epstein, whatever. And they were basically providing these politicians with kids and stuff like that. It's amazing. That's not on TV. We have to trust CNN. But Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Oh yeah, that's on TV. Heard, Johnny Depp. There you go. There you see, Johnny Depp trial. Trial, right? Take a look at this. Now, why is that shown whilst the Ghislaine Maxwell trial was more important? It's amazing. Really is amazing. This is how you distract people. So there you have that. And Amber Heard actually said something in defense. Now, she was really acting. I didn't see any tears come out. She was like, faking crying, fake crying. It's crocodile tears.
Let's tell the jury about Hicksville, May 2013. Can you tell the jury what transpired at Hicksville?
It's a fancy trailer park. He just started smashing things. He picked up something on the table and threw it right into the glass cabinet. He hit with his hand a wall sconce. He cleared the tabletop on the little fold down kitchen dining room area in this trailer. It's a trailer.
Have you guys seen this? This is so boring. This is me say against you say. It's like, who's right on this? I don't care. Are men abusive in relationships? Yeah, they are. Are women abusive in relationships? Yeah, they are. So this was a toxic relationship. These people didn't love each other. They wanted each other for their money, and status and fame and all that. So you got that still going on. It's been like we're in the 4th week right now. It's going to take 6 weeks. 6 weeks of this bullshit. Oh well. We're going to take a look at what's happening around the world. And I just saw something Mariupol siege. There you go. Zelensky calls for longer truce to evacuate Mariupol. Yeah, I thought the Ukrainians were winning, right? They were like, yeah, we're on the winning side, man. We're winning. And now suddenly Zelensky calls for, longer truce, ceasefire. It's like, what? Do you really know what's going on in Ukraine? Do you really know? Because I've always said, right, that the Dutch broadcasting network isn't fake. It's one-sided. It's one-sided. They only show one side of the story. You see? So let's put Ukraine on the map. There you go. There's Ukraine. And basically the country is split into two, right? You got like West Ukraine, that's more European focused, and the east of Ukraine, which is more Russian focused, right? Now, during 2014, you had a coup going on. We've showed you this many, many times. Victoria Nuland and Jeffrey Pyatt deciding which president will be the president of Ukraine. And the east of Ukraine did not want to participate in that. So they actually had a referendum in Crimea, and the east of Ukraine, the Donbass, wanted out too. They wanted to be autonomous. They wanted to make their own decisions and stuff like that. So it's amazing. It really is amazing. Ever since 2014, they've been trying to take over the region, and they've been shelling a lot of people, and even in Odessa, there were also like very bad things going on there, so it's amazing. The country has fallen apart, and it's a very, very corrupt country, and they want to join the EU. I don't think so. Hungary and Slovakia and Serbia are basically not working along with the European Union. Hungary says we're not going to give arms to Ukraine, and we're not going to say no to Russia, because their whole economy basically is dependent on Russian oil and gas. The same goes for Slovakia, right? And Romania is also, not really willing to participate with the EU. So there you have that going on, right? These countries are very near the front lines, and they don't want to be involved in what's happening. They don't want this thing to escalate. But there are people that do want to escalate. So they're giving arms to Poland, and Poland is supplying arms to Ukraine. It's insanity, man. We do not want war. We want peace. That's what we want. We want peace. Now, if you look at Armenia, for example, these people were protesting. Armenia. There you go. Protest. Pressure grows on Pashinyan, or whatever his name is. So, very big demonstration, 200 protesters detained in Armenia. And let's put that on the map. There you go. There's a border dispute between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's been a while, but things are flaring up again. And people are protesting. So let's take a look at this here.
Demonstrators took to the streets of Yerevan on Tuesday. Their target, Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, for his handling of a dispute with Azerbaijan. The two countries have been locked in a decades-long dispute over the Nagorno-Karabakh region. A 6-week war in 2020 claimed more than 6,000 lives before ending with a Russian-brokered ceasefire.
We demand the resignation of Nikol Pashinyan and his government as soon as possible, so we can resume our place on the world stage. We want dignified peace, without unilateral concessions, so we can improve security in Nagorno-Karabakh and Armenia.
Under the Moscow-mediated deal, Armenia ceded swathes of territory it had controlled for decades. The pact was seen in Armenia as a national humiliation and sparked weeks of protests. Pashinyan then called snap elections, which his civil contract party won last September. However, people expressed their anger on the streets again this week.
We are marching so that the Turkish spy, Nikol Pashinyan, leaves the country. He who made a deal behind the people's backs and who gave our ancestral land to the enemy.
If the current leadership stays in power, we will become a small part of Turkey, as was their plan 100 years ago. Nobody is saying we need to have a bad relationship with our neighbors. Even with the Azerbaijani enemy, we can reach an agreement, but without surrendering.
Ethnic Armenian separatists in Nagorno-Karabakh broke away from Azerbaijan when the Soviet Union collapsed. Years of ensuing conflict claimed around 30,000 lives.
So there you have that. You know, that's going on in Armenia. And we're actually, trying to give a global insight on what's going on. So that's Armenia. They had a border dispute with Azerbaijan a while back, and that's been settled because of Russia. Yeah, thanks to Russia, that border dispute was halted. So there you have that. Now let's see what's going on at Al Jazeera, because, as I've said before, if I look at like American channels and European channels, they don't talk geopolitics. They don't say what's happening in Africa or what's happening in India or elsewhere, unless something really big happens, But Al Jazeera is one of the widely known channels that are everywhere, basically. Here, Nigeria, Jerusalem, right? They're also in over there. They're in Ukraine, and these are sponsored by the Qatari government. Now, I'm not a fan of the Qatari government, but I do like that these people give geopolitics, because that's the most important thing. It's not what's going on in your backyard. It's what's going on the other side of the backyard you have to look at, Say there is, for an instance, a forest fire, right? Now, if you focus on your backyard, you won't see the fire until it comes towards you, you know? So we have to take a look at what's going on around the world. Now, as I've said before, Finland and Sweden, they want to join NATO, and they had this application to join, and NATO said yes. So that's pretty much big news, because if you look at the map, you'll see that NATO is at the border of Russia. You see, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are also part of NATO. So that means Finland and Sweden will be also part of NATO. So, and that's what Russia does not want. They're already fighting a war in Ukraine, and now 2 neutral countries are joining NATO. So let's take a look at this.
Putin can basically slaughter his Slavic brothers, sisters, and cousins in Ukraine, why couldn't he do it in, say, Finland and Sweden? So maximize your security, and one way to do it is to join NATO. For NATO, this is a no-brainer. They're basically going to say, great to have you guys, welcome, thank you for finally joining us. You fit into this team like no one before. It's a win-win situation for Finland, Sweden, the Baltic Sea region, and for NATO. I don't think that NATO has ever or will have ever accepted 2 countries that are more NATO compatible. One of the strongest combinations of an air force, a ground force, and then of course a navy. We are not that concerned about what the consequences of Finland and Sweden joining NATO. I mean, of course, there will be intimidation. So we'll see activity in the hybrid cyber and information space. We heard Medvedev say we're going to move nuclear weapons to the Baltic Sea region if Finland and Sweden join NATO. Well, we know that they're already there. So, you know, this is the type of stuff that we are very prepared for. Russia.
So there you have it. You know, it's amazing, and it is very, very provocative to have Sweden and Finland in NATO. You see, then the Russians won't have any freedom of passing. They have a very big harbor at St. Petersburg, but if the Baltic Sea is in hands of NATO, you know, they cannot go anywhere. They also have the Black Sea, which is right over here, which is why this part was very important. The Crimea was very important for Russia because they were supplying Syria. Now, Russia has like 4 harbors, 1 military harbor, and 3 harbors that are like publicly used. There's also a harbor at Vladivostok, which is over here somewhere. So, in Siberia. So, what would be easier to supply a country like Syria with, you know, food and arms and whatever else? Would it be easier to go from St. Petersburg, right? Or would it be easier to go from the Black Sea? That's a very hard thing. So NATO is also expanding beyond Europe, because Turkey is also a part of NATO. You see, and that is a very big blockade for Russia, you know, because in Istanbul you have like a street, and we're going to zoom in on that. Here you have Istanbul, and if we zoom in on that, you'll see the street. You see over here, one-way lane to the Black Sea, and Turkey is part of NATO, even though they don't really want to be part of NATO. So they're blocking Russian access to the Mediterranean. So that's what's happening there, and there's been a civil war going on in Libya for like 10 years, and that's finally ceased. And they're talking about installing a new government. There's an interim government in Tripoli, which was fighting against a general that was supporting Gaddafi, and there were many proxy groups trying to overthrow the government, and they basically won. And after that, they went to other countries like Niger and Chad and Sudan and other countries, which led to a military coup in Mali, for example, and Burkina Faso. So, and in Chad, the president was shot at the border of Libya. So I believe he has two sons. One is in the civil engineering thing, he's like civil servant, put it that way. And the other is in the military, and he has taken control of the government, and it's an interim government. They're supposed to have elections and stuff like that, and they postponed it, as I've said before. So Sudan is also having trouble, and also Ethiopia is also having trouble. So Africa is being destabilized, overthrown, put in a new government, overthrow that, put in a new government. So that's what's happening over there in Africa. It's a very non-stable situation over there. But over here in Europe, we don't really care what's happening in Africa and elsewhere. So Modi, which is the Prime Minister of India, visited Europe, right? And he went first country he went to was Norway, and then he was in Belgium, Brussels, where you have the European Union, and then he was in France, and now he's heading back to India. You think I'm making this up? Nope. Modi visits Europe. There you go. They really want Modi on their side, to say that Russia is doing a bad thing. And yeah, we're going to take a look at Modi's visit to Europe. Now, India is a neutral country when it comes to the Russian war. So, and they really want India on their side. So we're going to take a look at this here.
We are glad you're watching We on Wild is One. We are following the trip by Indian Prime Minister to Europe, which begins tomorrow. And Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on his first Europe visit since the commencement of the Ukrainian war. The Indian Prime Minister will visit 3 European...
He said tomorrow, but look on the day it was posted, May 1st, and now it's May 5th, so...
countries, Germany, Denmark and France. The significant Euro trip is aimed at strengthening ties between the Asian country and EU nations. Our principal diplomatic correspondent Sidhan Sibal brings you all the details from Bali.
First foreign visit of the year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi travels to Europe. He travels to 3 countries and begins his visit from Germany, the powerhouse of European Union.
He was in Germany. Okay. So he was here in Germany. I believe he also went to Norway or something. I heard Denmark. Oh well. He was in Europe.
Union. In Germany, he holds talks with the new Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, under the 6th Intergovernmental Consultations.
This will be Prime Minister's first intergovernmental consultations and in-person meeting with Chancellor Scholz. Scholz assumed office in December 2021. The Indo-German IGC meets every 2 years, alternatively between the 2 countries. The last IGC was in 2019 in Delhi, for which the then German Chancellor Angela Merkel had visited the country. By Germany's invitation to India for G7 summit in July will likely be key announcement. The shadow of Russian invasion of Ukraine will undoubtedly continue to dominate.
For sure, you cannot meet in these days without talking about Ukraine because it has effects on the international rules-based order. And
so, who is this guy? I mean, did you vote for this guy? Dr. Tobias Lindner? Did you vote for this guy? Because this guy is just a lobbyist, you know? So, it's amazing. It really is amazing. They're having all these meetings deciding on what's happening in another country. It really is amazing. And they want India to also give restrictions, you know, to Russia and this and that. It's amazing. It really is amazing. So it's a very, very dangerous situation because, you know, Moscow and China, Beijing are friends. So if China feels like they have to give arms and stuff to Russia, they will do that. You know, and China has a very big army, one of the biggest in the world. So, but the Chinese aren't, they never fought a war. They have a very large army, but they never fought a war after the revolution, you know. So let's take a look at what I'm being sent here. Their Boston gives a lot of nieuwe politie CAO plus 9,5%. The cops are getting a new contract with the government, and their salary is going up 9.5%. So it's amazing, really is amazing. The people in the Netherlands hardly get anything from the government. They only have to pay, but if you work for government, then you'll get a large amount. So that's what's happening. It's 1984 on steroids, man. It really is 1984. You have like a Ministry of Truth now. What? A Ministry of Truth? Really? So that's what's happening, people. Thanks, boss, for the information over there. Let's see. I just saw something. 5 May. Oh well. Never mind that. It was about freedom of speech and this and that. Actually wanted to show you guys that, but well, I did. So this here is the state-run news network, NOS, and yeah, it's one-sided news, man. One-sided news. KLM lost honderden miljoenen af op staatssteun. Interesting thing to see here. So KLM is basically airline flight department, like American Airlines and stuff like that. And they got a lot of money from government. A lot of money from government. And now they're giving that money back. So it's yeah, very interesting thing to see, because the farmers, they're also dependent basically on the government, and they don't get any support. They need to go. It's like, what? Yeah, they need to go. We need more land. We need more land to build houses and stuff like that, because we have a lot of Ukrainians coming our way, and you're a farmer, you have a large patch of land. Well, you don't anymore. Here's some money and go to Hungary and farm over there. That's what the farmers in the Netherlands are getting from their government, whilst the airline companies like KLM, they get millions, billions of euros, but the farmers, nope, they gotta go. And it's very, very sad to see, because if you look at Zimbabwe, for example, we'll show that on the map, right? If you look at Zimbabwe, the farmers over there, they needed to go, basically, because, white men bad and blah, blah, blah. So they needed to go. And if you look at the Netherlands, it's very densely populated. There's not much land, basically, and the land that we have is very, very small. There is hardly any nature. The Netherlands, you could say it's a land of concrete, So Zimbabwe, the farmers had to go over there, and let's zoom out some more. And they didn't have any food anymore. So here you have Zimbabwe, right? And Robert Mugabe was the dictator there, and he passed away, and there's a new dictator. I don't know his name, but still he's a dictator, and people in Zimbabwe aren't very happy It's also very unstable over there. So there you have it. There you have geopolitics, people. And there aren't many people that give geopolitics, you know. So RHTVLive is giving geopolitics. And yeah. If you look at Asia, for example, Myanmar, there's still a coup going on over there. And people are rebelling against the coup government. And let's see what else. There's so much going on. If you want to have an insight on what's happening in the Korean Peninsula, for example, you follow Arirang News. Arirang News. There you go. They were reporting on North Korea shooting a missile. So that's also something that we have to take a look at. And let's see. Yeah, they're also talking about the war in Ukraine. Who isn't? You know, it's a very very painful thing to see. So here you go. North Korea fires ballistic missile 22 hours ago.
Hello and welcome. I'm Daniel Che here to bring the latest. Let's begin with our top story. North Korea fired a ballistic missile again. The 14th such launch this year happened while South Korean lawmakers were holding a confirmation hearing for the defense chief nominee. Bae Eun-ji starts us off.
At about 12 p.m. Wednesday, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff announced in a text message to reporters that North Korea fired a ballistic missile toward the East Sea.
Our military detected one ballistic missile that was fired toward the East Sea from the North Sunan area this afternoon.
That's the same area in Pyongyang where the North on March 24th conducted its first full Icbm test since 2017. The South Korean military said the missile flew about 470 kilometers at an altitude of around 780 kilometers. An official from the Joint Chiefs of Staff told reporters that it flew at a speed of up to 11 times the speed of sound. The missile was launched while the defense chief nominee Lee Jong-seop's parliamentary confirmation hearing was taking place at the National Assembly. The nominee said the latest launch may have involved an ICBM, but there is also the possibility that it could have been a missile with a shorter range. He added that the launch is a violation of UN Security Council resolutions. One expert also says it's likely that it was an ICBM, possibly a Hwasong-15.
North Korea cannot send a strong message through launching a mid-range ballistic missile like Hwasong-12, so they may have launched the Hwasong-15. And by doing this before Joe Biden visits Seoul, the North probably wants to find more negotiating power with the US or South Korea.
Wednesday's launch comes a little more than 2 weeks after the North launched what it called a tactical guided weapons on April 16. It's also the North's first launch of a ballistic missile since leader Kim Jong-un warned in a speech during a military parade last week that the regime could preemptively use nuclear weapons if threatened. Right after.
Now, do you guys remember when Trump visited North Korea? Trump, North Korea. Say what you want about President Trump, right? Ban him or whatever. He's the only president of all the presidents in the U.S. who visited North Korea. You know? Let's take a look at this here.
President Trump was the first to arrive.
walking slowly toward North Korea in the no man's land of the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ. Then Kim Jong-un emerged, walking faster to catch up. The two leaders shook hands, Trump on South Korean soil, Kim Jong-un in the north.
Good to see you again. I've never expected to meet you at this place. Do you feel Excellency take a step forward? You're the first US president to cross the border.
They were separated only by a narrow concrete strip, the demarcation line between the two Koreas. President Trump asked and was invited to cross.
You see, that's how a president works. You know, you go to the negotiation table and say, you know, you're a strong country. We don't want to attack you, but we got to do something. You know, and then you put it on the table. President Trump was the first president ever to set foot on North Korea. Now, our prime minister also visited North Korea. Well, not really North Korea. He was at the border of South Korea with the South Korea. Let's see if we got images of that. This was after Trump visited North Korea. Let's see. No, we don't have images of that. But he did visit South Korea. Korea. So. There you go. There you have him. It was after Trump visited. Oh, go away. Go away. Stupid thing. Oh well. So we have images of that too. So there you have it. You know, he visited South Korea, and he was too afraid to cross the border like Trump did. And, you know, Kim Jong-un did not want our prime minister in his country. And I don't even want my prime minister in my country. He needs to go. Go away. You've destroyed enough. You know? Waffenhund. Yeah, he's very, very afraid. So, that's that. Now, we're going to close off with some wise words of Plato.
The cure of many diseases is unknown to physicians because they are ignorant of the whole, for the part can never be well unless the whole is well. Our love for our children springs from the soul's greatest yearning for immortality. Virtue is voluntary, vice involuntary. Astronomy compels the soul to look upwards and leads us from this world to another. The whole life of the philosopher is a preparation for death. Fly from the company of the wicked, fly and turn not back. No human thing is of serious importance. As the builders say, the larger stones do not lie well without the lesser. We obtain better knowledge of a person during 1 hour's play and games than by conversing with him for a whole year. All the gold which is under or upon the earth is not enough to give in exchange for virtue. all knowledge is but remembrance. I have hardly ever known a mathematician who was capable of reasoning. The contemplation of beauty causes the soul to grow wings. Wonder is the feeling of the philosopher, and philosophy begins in wonder. Let every man remind their descendants that they also are soldiers who must not desert the ranks of their ancestors, or from cowardice fall behind.
Thank you for those wise words, Plato. Thank you. May we learn from history and not repeat it. We need to go forward, not backwards. We don't need a ministry of truth to tell us what's the truth. I hope you guys have enjoyed the live stream. We'll be back. Let's see what's said in the chat. Lunch met RHTV. Ja, inderdaad, lunch met RHTV. Ja, af en toe zijn we tijdens de lunch zijn we aanwezig. We zijn tijdens het avondeten aanwezig. We zijn zelfs na 12 uur. Als iedereen aan het slapen is, dan zijn we nog aan het kijken van wat gebeurt er allemaal in de wereld. Wat gebeurt er allemaal? Ja, en ik was weer bij wat Canadese vrienden, al was het niet zo heel erg lang. En vandaar dat ik het ook in het Engels doe. Ja, want onze Canadese vrienden en Amerikaanse, die kijken mee. Ja, en nogmaals, als je dan kijkt over internet, weinig geopolitiek. En dat doen wij wel hier bij RHTVLive. Ja, allemaal gratis en voor niks. Informatie is kennis. En die kennis hebben we nodig tegen de vijand. En wie zijn de vijanden ook weer? Bilderberg-groep. En de Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission. De schaduworganisaties die onze regering in handen heeft. Ja. Dus, we gaan er vandoor, mensen. Doei doei. Dank dat jullie gekeken hebben. Dank dat jullie gedeeld hebben. Jullie zijn het licht. Laat het licht niet doven in dit land. And for all the English-speaking viewers, we'll be back. We'll be back. Don't worry. We'll keep on fighting for freedom. That's what we need.